Hi there, I'm Mrs. Weiss. Welcome to Latin Storytime. Today I'm going to be telling you the story of the Piper of Hamelin. First, let me introduce you to the Latin words I'll be using. Here are parvuli, boys and girls just like you. Parvuli are any people from the littlest ones that have just been born all the way up to about this very young school age. Now, men, women, and parvuli who live in the same region or area as one another are called a populus. They may speak the same language and have similar culture. Now here is oppidum. Populus lives in oppido. Some populi live in big cities, but here is a medium-sized oppidum. Now here is a tibicen with his tibia. A tibia is a long instrument that plays a sweet sound. It's called a tibia because it was originally made from bone, and it's played by a tibicen. In our story today, tibicen will have the job of getting rid of rattus from oppido. Here is a rattus that's probably a pet rattus, but the ratti in today's story are pests that are bothering oppidum. All right, now we're ready to hear the story of Tibicen of Hamelin. A very long time ago, oppidum in Germany, named Hamelin, was invaded by rattus, the like of which had never been seen before and will never be seen again. They were great black creatures that ran boldly in broad daylight through the streets and swarmed so all over the houses that no one at last could put their hand or foot down anywhere without touching one. Neither cat, nor dog, nor poison, nor traps, nothing would do anything to stop them. The more that were killed, the more came. One Friday, there arrived in Oppido a man with a strange face who played tibiam and sang this refrain: "Who lives shall see, this is he, the tibia playing rat catcher." He was a great gawky fellow with two great yellow, piercing and mocking eyes under a large felt hat. He stopped at the great marketplace before the hall Oppidi, turned his back on the church, and went on with his music. The council Oppidi had just assembled to consider once more this plague from which no one could save Oppidum. The stranger sent word to the councillors that if they would make it worth his while, he would rid them of all their rattus before night, down to the very last. "Then he is a sorcerer," cried Populus with one voice. "We must beware of him." The councillor Oppidi, who was considered clever, reassured them. He said, "Sorcerer or no, if this tibicen speaks the truth, it was he who sent us this horrible vermin that he wants to rid us of today for money. Well, we must learn to catch the devil in his own snares. You leave it to me." "Leave it to the councillor," said Populus, and the stranger was brought before them. "Before night," said he, "I shall have dispatched all rattus in Hamelin, if you will but pay me a silver coin a head." "A silver coin a head!" cried Populus, "but that will come to millions of florins." The councillor simply shrugged his shoulders and said to the stranger, "A bargain. To work, ratti will be paid for 1 silver coin a head as you ask." Tibicen announced that he would operate that very evening when the moon rose. He added that Populus should at that hour leave the streets and content themselves with looking out of their windows at what was passing. That night, Tibicen reappeared at the marketplace. He turned his back to the church, and the moment the moon rose on the horizon, tibia resounded. It was first a slow, caressing sound, then more and more lively and urgent, and so piercing that it penetrated as far as the farthest alleys of Oppidum. Soon, from the bottom of the cellars, the top of the garrets, from under all the furniture, from all the nooks and corners of the houses, out came ratti, searching for the door, flinging themselves into the street and trip, 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 beginning to run in file towards the front of the hall Oppidum. When the square was quite full with rattis, Tibicen, still playing briskly, turned towards the river that runs at the foot of the walls of Hamelin. Arrived there, he turned round. Ratti were following. "Hop, hop," he cried, pointing with his finger to the middle of the water. And hop, hop, without hesitating, Ratti plunged in head foremost and disappeared. At last came a big rattus, white with age. It was the king of the band. "Are they all there, friend?" asked Tibicen. "They are all there," replied Rattus. "And how many were they?" 990,999. "Go and join them, old sire, and au revoir." Then the old white rattus sprang into the river and disappeared. When Tibicen had thus concluded his business, he went to bed at the inn. And for the first time during 3 months, Populus of Hamelin slept quietly through the night. The next morning, Tibicen returned to the hall where the council awaited him. "All your ratti took a jump into the river yesterday," said he to the councillors, "and I guarantee that not one of them come back. They were 990,999 at 1 silver coin a head. Reckon." "Let us reckon the heads first. Where are the heads?" asked the councillor. "The heads?" cried Tibicen. "If you care about them, go and find them in the river." "So," replied the councillor, "you refuse to hold to the terms of your agreement? We ourselves could refuse you all payment. But you have been of use to us, and we will not let you go without a recompense." And he offered him 50 florins. Tibicen did not expect this treacherous stroke. He paled with anger, and his eyes flashed fire. "Keep your recompense for yourself," he replied proudly. "If you do not pay me, I will be paid by your heirs." Thereupon, he pulled his hat down over his eyes, went hastily out of the hall, and left Oppidum without speaking to a soul. When the Hamelin populace heard how the affair had ended, they laughed at Tibicen, who, they said, was caught in his own trap. Next day, which was a Sunday, they all went gaily to church, thinking that afterwards they would at last be able to eat something that ratti had not tasted before them. They never suspected the terrible surprise that awaited them on their return home. No parvuli were anywhere. They had disappeared. "Our parvuli! Where are our parvuli?" was the cry that was soon heard in all the streets. Then, through the east door of Oppidum came 3 little parvuli, who cried and wept, and this is what they told. While the parents were at church, a wonderful music had resounded. Soon all the little parvuli, boys and girls that had been left at home, went out, attracted by the magic sounds, and had rushed to the great marketplace. There they found Tibicen playing tibia at the same spot as the evening before. Then the stranger had begun to walk quickly, and they had followed, running, singing, and dancing to the sound of the music, as far as the foot of the mountain which one sees on entering Hamelin. At their approach, the mountain had opened a little, and Tibicen had gone in with them, after which it had closed again. Only the 3 who told the adventure had remained outside, as if by a miracle. One was lame and could not run fast enough. The other had hurt himself against a big stone and could not walk without difficulty. The third, in hurrying to go in with the others, had struck so violently against the wall of the mountain that he fell backwards at the moment it closed behind his comrades. At this story, the parents redoubled their lamentations. They ran with pikes and pickaxes to the mountain, and searched till evening to find the opening by which their parvuli had disappeared, without being able to find it. At last, the night falling, they returned desolate to Hamelin. But the most unhappy of all was the counselor, whom Populus of Hamelin overwhelmed with reproaches for the rest of his days, forgetting that evening before they had all agreed with him. What had become of all these parvuli? The parents always hoped that Tibicen, who certainly must have come out of the mountain, would have taken them with him to his own country. That is why for several years they sent in search of them to different countries, but no one ever came upon a trace of parvulorum. It was not till much later that anything was to be heard of them. About 150 years later, there arrived one evening in Hamelin some merchants returning from the east who asked to speak with Populo. They told that they, in crossing Hungary, had sojourned in a mountainous country called Transylvania, where Populus only spoke German, while all around them nothing was spoken but Hungarian. This Populus also declared that they came from Germany, but they did not know how they chanced to be in this strange country. Now, said the merchants, these Germans cannot be other than the descendants of the lost parvulorum of Hamelin. Populus of Hamelin did not doubt it, and since that day they regard it as certain that the Transylvanians of Hungary are their countryfolk, descendants of parvuli who were brought there by tibicen. The end. Thanks for joining me today for Latin Storytime. I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey parents! I want to help your kids keep learning Latin beyond our story time together. Visit latinstorytime.com/signup for free access to each of my parents' guides, where I give you a list of the new words your child learned today and some tips to help you practice those words naturally in your daily life. And remember to click the YouTube subscribe button so you catch each new episode. Thanks for watching, and I hope your family enjoys your Latin learning together.